A very good morning, students, and welcome to today's IT class. Today we are going to start with session 4, and the session 4 is how to form sentences. Some basic sentence elements we are going to learn. It means we are going to understand about how to write a simple sentence, a compound sentence, and a complex sentence. So let's start with a simple sentence. Now, whenever we do conversation in English language, or whenever we have to write English language, it's very necessary, students, to write it in a complete correct form using the complete correct usage of the grammar also. So here we are going to learn about how to write a complete sentence. So first, let's start with how a sentence actually looks like. A sentence, my dear students, consisted of two main parts, that is the subject and the predicate. Now, subject and predicate. Predicate is again divided into two parts, that is verb and object. Now, let's take a very simple example, students, what is there in your textbook. The man ate a cream cake. So here, the noun man. The man is the subject. Predicate is what? Ate a cream cake. That is the predicate. Now, predicate again is divided into verb and the object. Now here what is the verb? Ate is the verb. And what the man ate? A cream cake. So cream cake is the object. So here how the sentence divided? The sentence divided into two sections. The man as a subject, ate a cream cake as a predicate. Now that predicate again divided into two parts, verb and object. So whenever we are going to make a sentence, the sentence consists of two parts. Subject means what, students? Subject can be any noun, a person, an animal, a place, a thing, which is doing an action. He does an action. So that determines the subject. For example, it's like he read many books. So what is the subject here? He. The movie is good. What is the subject here? The movie. Next, verb. Verb is what here? He read many books. So what is the verb here? Reads. The movie is good. What is the verb here? Is. Now, is actually is not a verb. It is called a linking verb. So, next what we are going to discuss here is, or we can say be verb is called as a linking verb. Next, what is the object? He read many books. Object is here many books. The movie is good. What is the object here? Movie. So, now let's move on to, so these are the objects, students. Let's move on to the types of sentences. Now, as we discussed that in this chapter we are going to learn about how to write a simple sentence, how to write a compound sentence, and a complex sentence. So, let's first start with a simple sentence. Simple sentence is what? Simple sentence consists of only one independent clause. Suppose, for an example, I am a painter. This is a simple independent clause. The one single sentence itself gives a proper meaning of that particular sentence. It does not have to depend on some other form of a sentence to come with a proper meaning. Next is compound sentence. Compound sentence is a sentence which has more than one. It means two or more clauses are there. It's like I am a painter and my sister is a sculptor. So it's what? Here, it's not a one single sentence. The two clauses are there. The first one is I am a painter. Next one is about the sister. And those two join with the word called and. So here, this becomes a compound sentence where two or more than two clauses are used. Next is the complex sentence. Now, what is this complex sentence where it consists of a main clause and with more than one dependent clause. Now, first, let's go with the independent clause. In the simple sentence, we learn about independent clause means I am a painter. It's a complete independent clause. This single one sentence gives us the proper meaning. So, independent clause is what? It can stand alone as a sentence. He does not have to take help of any other sentence to give a proper meaning. So, it contains of a subject, I, and a verb, then which makes a complete idea. He read many books. Clear? Read is the verb here. He is the subject here. Many books is the object here. So, this becomes a complete simple sentence, or we can say an independent clause. Next we discussed about the dependent clause, where what we discussed, dependent clause is used in complex sentences. Complex sentences means, students, which consist of a main clause, and with that main clause one dependent or more than two dependent clauses are there. More than one or more than one dependent clauses are there. Now let's take an example. What is given in your book? Because he read many books, he owns many books. Now from here, if you remove the second part of the sentence, student, and let's take the first part of the sentence, that is the because he reads many books. Does the sentence is complete? No, it's an incomplete sentence. And does the sentence gives a proper meaning? Because he read many books, this sentence is not giving us a proper meaning. That's why this comes under dependent clause, because this is the main subject and then it depends with one or more dependent clause. And he owns many books. He owns many books. Why? Because he read many books. So this is one sentence or one clause is dependent on the other. So where one main clause is there, with that one or more than one dependent clauses are used. Now let's move on to session 15, and the session 15 is all about sentence formation. Now in this session we are going to learn about the active and the passive voice. Now everybody is very much familiar with the active and passive voice. Active and passive voice is what? Active voice is which is said something directly, and passive voice is indirectly. In short, if you want to explain. So a very good example given in your book is I read newspaper. It's an active voice. Directly it's being said. Next is the newspaper is read by me. Newspaper is read by me. This is passive voice. The first one, I read newspaper, is active. Newspaper is read by me is passive voice. Now passive voice, when we use, students, passive voice is used when the focus is on the action, not on the subject. Newspaper is read. What was the action here? The reading of the newspapers. The main focus is there, that's why it comes first. Who has done it? The subject is not so important. So by me, it comes at the end of the sentence. So here another one example given as a passive voice. My bike was stolen. So here, who has stolen the bike? That is not so important. The bike was stolen, that is the main thing. So that comes first, as in weighing the fact that the bike was stolen rather than about who has done it. That is not so important. So we can say action, what has happened, that comes the main thing. So that comes first. Now, if something is given to you in active voice, students, and you have to convert it into passive voice, then how will you do it? Let's move on to the example what is given there in your textbook. Shubhra sings a song. Now, if I have to divide this sentence, let's first divide it. Shubhra is what? Is the subject here. Sings is what? Is the verb. A song is what? Is a object. Now, this is an active voice. Now, whenever we have to convert it from active to passive voice, we need to take care of something where the object becomes the subject, the verb comes with to be verb, and then the subject becomes the object. So what is written in your textbook? The object of the active sentence becomes the subject in the passive. That's what we said just now. The finite form of the verb is changed. To be comes with the past participle. The third form of the verb is going to be used in the passive voice. And the last part is the subject in the passive voice, the object in the passive voice. That subject of the active sentence, whatever was the subject, Shubhra, that becomes the object in the passive voice, or sometimes it is not used also. So let's see how it becomes changed. The active voice was Shubhra sings a song. Now here, Shubhra is the subject, a song is the object. Now if I have to convert it into passive voice, the object becomes a subject, so a song comes first. Then the verb sings changes to be plus past participle, means it comes with the to be verb. So it is sung. The third form of the verb will come here, so it becomes a song is sung. Then whatever is the subject in the active voice, Shubhra. That subject, what will happen? That subject changes and becomes the object. So it is by Shubhra. So the complete sentence in the passive voice will be, a song is sung by Shubhra. Let's move on to some other examples here. Some more examples are given. Noor painted this box. Now Noor is the subject, painted is the verb, this box is the object. Now object becomes the subject. This box, painted, becomes was painted. The subject becomes the object, so it becomes by Noor. So passive voice will be, this box was painted by Noor. The next example, Tanisha will represent our school. Tanisha is the subject, will represent is the verb, our school is the object. Now here object becomes the subject, so what will happen? Our school will be represented. To be verb comes here, will be represented. Subject becomes the object by Tanisha. So this is how we need to do the changes from active to passive, or you can do the changes vice versa also from passive to active also. So let's move on to some more examples of passive voice what is given in your textbook. It is in the form of a simple present. Rita writes a letter. Active voice. If you have to change it into passive, what you will write? A letter is written by Rita. Simply, if it is given in the present perfect, then Rita has written a letter. If you have to change it into passive, now what will be? A letter has been written by Rita. So, in this way, you need to do the required changes. Let's move on to some more examples. If it is in present progressive form, the active voice is, Rita is writing a letter. Now, if you have to change it into passive, what will be the change? A letter is being written by Rita. Next, if it is a past perfect sentence, then Rita had written a letter, had written. Now, the changes will be a letter had been written by Rita. So, here had written becomes the had been. Third form of the verb, had been written by Rita. Next, if it is like conditional kind of statement, then it is Rita would write a letter. Now, if you have to change it into passive, what will be? A letter would be written by Rita. So, conditional statements becomes like that. So, students, I would like to wind up here itself. What we discussed today, we discussed about how to make complete sentences. We discussed about the three forms of sentence: simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. We discussed about independent clause and dependent clause. Then we discussed about active voice and passive voice and how to do the changes from the active to passive, or you can do the vice versa also. So students, I would like to wind up here. If you have any doubt regarding any of these clippings, please feel free to ask me, and please complete your homework and reply me as soon as possible. Thank you everyone, and have a very good day.